Well, I went to get a breaker, a square D breaker at Home Depot, which I got a square D breaker at Home Depot, but they gave me the wrong one. So it's a square D panel, but it's the, I guess, the residential side or something. I don't know. Why do they make so many different types of square D? It's probably only two types, but I got the wrong one. So I'm going to go exchange this. But the good part is it can use a Simmons generic, less expensive breaker. So this one was 30, and you can get a 62 pole for like 15 bucks. So I'm going to get two of these for the price of this. So look, I kept my receipt. So we are on our way to Home Depot, and the plan is to, right now we have a 2-pole 20 or 30 amp, what was this one? 2-pole 30 amp breaker, powering our dryer slash RV plug, or EV plug. So what I'm going to do is use the factory plug for charging the Tesla, the factory plug for charging the Nissan Leaf, and switch out, because we're using the 20 and 30 amp breakers, 2-pole. I'm going to switch it to a 60 amp breaker and just see if the Tesla charges any faster just with dryer plug. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and switch out to the Tesla wall charger, because it is rated for higher amperage. So right now we're getting anywhere from 12 to 15 miles per hour charge with a standard 30 amp breaker and the wall plug adapter that came with the Tesla. I think I bought a separate adapter to plug into it's like a dryer or a 220 plug. So I'm going to try to boost that amperage, put a bigger breaker in, just to see if it does any difference. I mean, either way I'm switching it back out, but I figured make a good video to change the amperage, boost up the breaker on the panel, and see if the car can acknowledge that and draw more power and charge faster. But I think it's going to be about the same. I think there's something about that Tesla wall charger that they do to increase the amperage, and there's a chip in there too, so that might have something to do with it. And then sometimes when the Tesla, your car will acknowledge and identify that you are using a Tesla wall charger, and they might, since you paid the extra 500 bucks, and then who knows how much they would have charged for a install from an electrician. I mean, you could have spent, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 to purchase a wall plug, have it professionally installed. So sometimes they will, through software, acknowledge that and then give you a couple more miles an hour. So I don't know if it's software related, hardware related, or what, but I've heard from a few different people that they're getting as much as 30 and 40 miles an hour from the Tesla wall charger with a 220 hookup. And I went ahead and bought, I think it was a 6-gauge wire. So I'm going to upgrade the thickness of the wire. I'm sorry, it's 8 gauge, 8.2. So this has got 2 conductors and a ground. So that's all I needed for the plug. And luckily for me, this was the end of the line. So normally this would have been about 40 bucks. I got it for like 30, some change for, I think it was like, I don't know how many feet this is, probably 8 or 10 feet or something like that. wire's getting expensive, and they don't really sell. It's really hard to find 6 or 8 gauge wire unless you buy a whole spool of it. You have to buy at least 25 feet, and I think it's like 150 bucks. And of course, you're, depending on where you're at, I'm only going to use half of this, but I might even, since I have the extra, and our wall outlets are pretty short, I might even upgrade, if I can, the leaf charger. So we'll see. I might have to get a different plug to do that, because right now I'm just using a different version of the receptacle. It's more like a regular receptacle rather than a dryer outlet, so I don't think it'll accept this bigger cord. So I'm gonna have to change out the actual plug, and then I don't know if I want to do that, because then I'd have to change out, I already have a charge cord specifically for that outlet. I'd have to discard that and then basically just start using the Tesla wall charger instead. So anyway, either way, I'd rather be able to plug in 2 leafs and the Tesla at the same time, because we have 3 EVs now, and hopefully in the future have a 4th. So I'd like to be able to charge at least 3 EVs at a time, and then also 2, of course, the 2 wall chargers we have are J12, and the adapter for J12, I don't know if they still do, but most of the time they come with adapter in the Tesla, and if not, they're only like 50 bucks or something like that for the exclusive Tesla J12 adapter to Tesla adapter, if you don't get it in your car. So that would be a good thing to have anyway. A couple spares of those laying around in glove boxes. So anyway, I'm on the way to Home Depot. I'm going to exchange out these square D breakers for some less expensive Simmons that actually fit in the panel. So I will do a time-lapse video. Hopefully I can change out the wall charger without too much cutting. I'm going to take off one of the plugs and just use the existing holes and existing, I have like a piece of plywood, a square piece on the wall, already screwed into the studs underneath the panel, and that'll be a lot easier to retrofit rather than taking everything apart, cutting a new hole, and then fishing a new wire to a new space in the drywall, which I'll probably have to, I'd rather put a piece of plywood over, because drywall doesn't hold very well, and sometimes you can't always find the stud, because on the Tesla wall charger I think there's one up and one on the side, but I want to put maybe 2 on the corners rather than 2 in the middle, because that's not as stable, especially if you don't hit a stud. So I'd rather just do mount it on plywood and hit at least 3 self-tapping screws with a fat head, so it'll drill right through the plastic and drill right into the stud or the plywood. So that way it'll be a nice sturdy application. And I've had chargers in the past, you mount them in drywall, and after you unplug them and plug them back in a few times, the whole thing gets loose, and then it gets to the point where you have to be real delicate when you unplug and plug in and take the cord off. This way, if you mount it on plywood, I mean, it'll last pretty much forever unless you hit it or bump it or do something that's out of the ordinary. Usually, because we've had ours for probably 6 or 8 months now. We've had our cars for probably 6 or 7 years, but they finally started getting loose and sloppy. So I pulled out the inserts, the outlet inserts and the normal inserts, and I brought them out, put a piece of plywood, and I took metal, more like a industrial commercial grade four square box, mounted it to the plywood, and then put the outlets in the square boxes, and that seems to work out so much better. They're a lot rougher and tougher and can take more abuse. So if you guys have done that and put chargers on your walls and you've noticed that they're kind of sloppy, if you plug them in and out a lot, you might want to go ahead and just do a flush mount with more like a commercial grade steel outlet receptacle holder, and then you can upgrade to like maybe the big fat dryer plug looking outlets, and those you can plug in and out many times, and they stay pretty crisp, and you won't have any problems. Or if you have other people, multiple use people plugging and unplugging, they won't have to be so delicate, and they will last for years. So anyway, I'm at Home Depot. I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple breakers and whatever else I need, and then head back to the house and hopefully have a nice clean install and have some fresh video for you guys to check out, and hopefully it helps you guys out. And if you have any questions or comments, leave it down below, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. All right, happy Sunday. Get something done. Tree life.